You watched Curb. Did you like it?
I chuckled a couple times. It was okay.
You didn't love it.
It didn't make me want to watch it a second time.
It's hard to make someone love it. You're trying to make him love it.
Is that all ad lib?
A lot of it is.
Rough outline, I believe, is what they do.
So, I mean, the black guy, what's the
JB Smoove.
JB Smoove, he's pretty funny.
He's butt funny.
Larry David just kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. He just talks a little too loud for me.
He's a terp.
Although he does love to drop the F-bomb.
Right. Well, who doesn't?
What was the plot of that one? I can't remember.
You're laughing.
Well, it's just because it's so stupid.
Right.
He came up with the Fatwa Broadway show.
That's
Fatwa.
right.
I totally got bitter at him and put out a hit on his head.
Right.
Pretty funny.
It is kind of funny.
It's a good concept.
Well, the concept is funny.
Was he also banging like the chick? And she was...
No, he foisted his assistant because he can't stand her. So he pushed her. He got her from Kimmel because Kimmel foisted. They called it foisting.
Okay.
And then he foisted it on who was it? He foisted it on somebody. And so it was all about getting rid of his assistant and then the fatwa hit on his head because of the Broadway show.
Yeah, it's a crazy, because that show had Ted Danson on it, right?
Ted Danson was on it.
Kimmel, Richard Lewis. I don't know. It's a wacky show. I will tell you the show which I had, which wasn't a show.
Mm-hmm.
So
I guess we're doing Binge Club right now.
If we have to grade it, I would give that particular episode of Curb C+.
That's not a glowing review.
I was given the movie The Kingdom, and it is such a cakes movie.
Of course. You mean it's good?
It's such
You mean it's entertaining?
It's terrorism.
That's a great movie, though.
It's just,
if you give it anything less than a B+, you're...
No, it's a good movie.
All right, good.
It's just, but the whole time I'm thinking, like, it's such in Cakes' box.
Of course, my wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse.
So what'd you give it?
Yeah, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's silly. That's
It's
silly
a Kingdom.
recommendation.
Actually, I was surprised Jason Bateman's in it.
Yep.
Jennifer
really
Garner,
good.
a really good cast. Has,
The actors are really good.
The guy from Breach was
Chris
Cooper.
Yes, Ricky.
All right, so what was the show you made me watch?
Long Shot.
The Long Shot. Yeah.
Oh, that all said Larry David, by the way.
That had Larry David. It was actually excellent. It was a little quick, perfect little documentary about a guy who, he lived in kind of a bad neighborhood.
Like East
I think he was maybe a gang member growing up or something, but they accused him of a murder that he didn't do. And he actually had an alibi. He was at a Dodgers game with his daughter, but nobody believed him. But he gets hooked. I'm telling everybody.
It's fine.
How long has it been out?
It's been out for a while.
If he bought his seats on
like 6
SeatGeek,
months.
This is the whole
there'd be a
point of
record
it.
on
We
it,
got to
right?
talk about
Okay, I'm telling everybody the show. Sorry.
All right.
Turn it off if you don't want to hear it. But he got hooked because his attorney asked him, where were you? He said, I was at a Dodgers game. So his attorney said, well, let me check the tape. Started checking the tape. And he also said, by the way, there was some sort of film crew there. I don't know what they were doing, but there was a film crew. He said, really? So his attorney, who was like a young hotshot attorney at
So
the
they
time,
arrested him and charged him with murder.
Oh, he's in jail. And it's not looking good.
And going up against a prosecutor, I believe, who was undefeated.
Yeah, prosecutor's undefeated, and
Who
they
loves
also
the death
it was all
penalty.
shady. Like the guy that drew the picture looked just like him. I mean, it was just everything was just shady.
The prosecutor was
It
the
was a
Chiefs
very,
before
very
yesterday.
flimsy case because the guy said I was at a Dodger game, but they had no real proof. He was at a Dodger game with his daughter and maybe like some family members, but they said, well, they will lie for you, or, whatever.
Right.
And the timeline made it a little bit weird. Maybe it gave him a little bit of leeway. But he got hooked because his attorney, God bless him, Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm, they were filming an episode that day.
At the Dodgers game?
At the Dodgers game. And he feverishly goes through hours and hours and hours of old hurting VHS tape, okay?
Yeah.
Hurting tape, okay? You can't fast forward digitally or whatever. It's just brutal. Goes through painstakingly, and sure enough, he sees Larry David filming a scene, walking right by.
That's a lot of
his
billable
client
hours.
and his daughter.
So he was on video.
tape
Wow.
at the game.
Silly
That's the
alibi.
ultimate hook job.
And it basically exonerated.
See, that sounds better than the Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, no, the
It was
Curb Your
really
Enthusiasm
good.
episode, which he was shooting, was he was going to a Dodgers game, but there was major traffic because it's L.A., so
Right.
he picked up a hooker so he could drive an HOV and get to the
Good bit.
Dodgers.
That is
pretty
a good
funny.
bit.
Yeah, that's a solid bit.
So,
Well, hold
so
on.
then, go ahead.
All
Ask
right.
me
So
your questions.
when did this murder occur?
Like maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
It was like maybe the 4th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right.
And he was just there, and they had several different camera angles because they just happened. Think about all
Such
the
a
different
grasper.
sections in Dodger Stadium. Larry David just happened to film that scene in his section with the hooker.
So if it wasn't for that, he probably would have been charged and convicted.
Well, he definitely was
Probably
charged.
easy to find because Dodger Stadium usually butt empty. Usually no people in the stands.
It wasn't full, but it might have been half full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
It's actually
could
All right,
solid.
now let's get to Cakes because
I
he
think
saw.
I know he didn't
I
like
think
it.
he watched the first 2 episodes of the night of.
I
You're
had the
supposed
night
to.
of. I
If
was
it's not
assigned that.
poker or terrorism, he's not
Um,
going to go for it.
I thought
All
the
right, but
night
this
of.
is a murder
I
mystery.
thought the night of was basically a glorified like Law and Order extended episode.
Oh,
I wasn't
so
super
much better than
wasn't
that.
super impressed by it, and I have no real desire to find
You
out.
mean you didn't
what
wanna
happens
know-
to Nas.
You didn't want to know if he actually did it or not.
Eventually, I may watch it because
No, he's not.
That didn't intrigue you.
I'm 1% curious, but I haven't been in a rush to go
Were
back
you-
and
let
watch.
me ask
You
you
know
a
what I'm
question.
going
What
to give
didn't
him
you
for
like
Binge
about it?
Club? I'm going to give him episodes 3 and 4.
What didn't you like about it?
Finish this thing.
Was it the acting? Was it too slow?
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of slow and
Well, let
drawn
me ask you
out.
this.
Kind
Were you-
of boring, actually.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
that's
it
fair.
starts off
Everyone's
that way, I
different.
think.
Yeah.
Were you locked in, or were you cheating and like on your phone?
No,
and
no.
on
I
your-
was.
You're
I
locked in. You
gave it
tried.
I gave it my full undivided attention for 2 episodes and about 30 minutes into the next.